So g'day all, it's Mark here. Welcome back to The Other Side, where we talk to topsport.com.au about how things are going from the bookie side of the fence. And I'm joined as usual by Tristan Merlihan. How you going, Tristan?
Yeah, good, Mark. How about yourself?
Yes, very well, thank you. Had a very quick word to you yesterday, and in news that I'm sure will really make a lot of punters sad. Apparently, you bookies had a tough weekend.
Yeah, the punters were well and truly on top over the weekend. The racing results weren't kind, even though we lost the Rose Hill meeting, and then it was very difficult to try to work out where we're to set those totals lines with the weather and the new rules in both footy codes. So punters way too good, but yeah, as you say, that a lot of punters are very happy to hear that.
Yeah, with the obviously with the slipper being postponed to this week, obviously that's an example of a meeting where, you know, it's far and away the biggest meeting of the day compared to anything else nationally. Can you put, a sort of number on, you know, the turnover you typically expect on a day like that? How much of that does transfer to other meetings, and how much of it you simply lose?
When it's such a significant meeting like that, you do lose a lot of turnover, because not only the turnover you lose on that meeting, but it sometimes means that customers that may have been drawn to having a bet on the races on the back of that meeting and then might bet onto some of the other states don't get involved at all. They might go and watch the footy. They might, go to the movies or something along those lines. So it is a significant drop off. It's difficult to put a number on it, but I'd sort of suggest we were down maybe 30% on our turnover compared to other years. I'd suggest.
And basically, they've taken the move to shift everything back 7 days. So just on the Golden Slipper meeting itself, so I assume pre-post bets stand, and what's the go with how that works, both pre-post and later bets?
Yeah, so basically any bet that was placed before the barrier draw still stands. Any bet after the barrier draw is refunded, and customers are able to resubmit their bets at the new market. I think all the other races on the day, other than the slipper, new noms have been called for. So, and horses that were scratched have been able to come back into the field. So I think that's the fairest way to treat it. There's obviously no perfect solution, particularly if someone got on at a big price. But, I think it is the fairest option. I think the decision made by Racing New South Wales to push the whole carnival back a week was also a very, very good one. I think in hindsight, there probably wasn't any alternative anyway. I'm tipping they wouldn't have been able to run the meeting on Monday, Tuesday, or even tomorrow with the way the weather's still there. And even if it did come good on Saturday, the reality was we would have been running on a very wet track on those early days of the week. And obviously turnover would suffer significantly. The other thing, that was thrown up was throwing the bigger races into a super day next Saturday, but then it mistimes all the horses with their preparations and those sort of things. So I'm very happy with the move. I think it was a good one, and hopefully we get some dry weather now in the back end of the week, so we get this slipper meeting, run in where all horses are given a good chance to be competitive.
Any further movement in the market since?
There's been a little bit of move. Presidente has been well backed. It's shortened from about $12 into, what have we got? It's into $11 now. Profiteers still $4.20. Outright favourite stay inside $5.50, and 4 moves ahead $6. So it's an open race for a slipper, and it's going to be interesting to see what rating that track comes up on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of the cancellation of racing, I'm talking to you on Tuesday, and although Tuesday's not a huge day relatively in the racing week, there were 3 meetings scheduled today nationally, and they've all been abandoned. So you've got a day with no racing, which is very rare. How does that look for you guys? Is it tools down, feet up on the desk, or is it still pretty busy?
No, it's still plenty happening. I'm just having a look. The punters are well and truly on top today as well. They've found a few winners in the dogs and those sort of things. So it probably makes it a bit of a trickier day to trade when you probably haven't got your blue ribbon events on it, even though they are the country and provincial tracks on a Tuesday. But it's probably the first time in recent memory anyway, where all of the racing venues have been abandoned. So it's certainly a different day. It was, I think there was only one venue on yesterday as well, or two venues. So, and tomorrow's looking something similar. So it's obviously bad weather everywhere, which hopefully everyone's okay with all the flooding and those sort of things. So it's just one of those things. You just do your best and handle it as it comes through. But yeah, there's still plenty happening with all the other codes on as well.
Both the footy codes are back, and you noticed you've with rule changes, you've had some issues with the over and unders. How did that play out? Did you see that coming?
Yeah, it was probably the couple of issues there with the rule changes, but also the poor weather. So we sort of had a double whammy there in trying to assess things. It's always difficult to price up wet weather games at the best of times, particularly, for example, on the Friday night in the NRL, the weather was expected for the Titans-Broncos game, but then it fined up late. So you've sort of got all those other variables you need to deal with. And then, as you say, the rule changes are one that's always a bit tricky to understand early in the season. So we're in no stronger place in terms of knowing what impact those have had after the first couple of weeks of the NRL and first week of the AFL, because you almost have to rule a line through those games over the weekend in terms of looking at the long-term data.
Best of the best premium with the highest limits on Saturday, Metro and feature race days. Topsport.com.au.
Do you do much in-play betting on AFL and NRL?
Yeah, it's quite a popular proposition on both those codes. So we definitely do take a lot of action. You find other games where you get the most activity are, for example, the Adelaide against Geelong game on the weekend in the AFL, where a team that's not expected to be winning are well and truly in front. That's because I suppose punters that are on Adelaide, obviously, plus the start, feel comfortable with their position. So they might go again and try to put themselves in a position where they've got a big split and can't lose. And then on the flip side, punters that are on Geelong at the minus probably feel that their original bet's in grave danger. So they might have another play to give themselves an interest for the back end of the game. So they're always the ones where you do get a lot of activity on the live betting.
You find that it's a bit tricky in the early rounds. I know there's been a lot of commentary around, early in the season, player fitness and how the games tend to drag right out, particularly in the AFL, as they had the shorter quarters last year and now they've gone back to the full-length game. Yeah,
for sure. And we've been laying a lot of exotic bets, and different sort of people have different theories on, more points in the second and fourth quarter with that fatigue you mentioned. So, yeah, the live betting, all the exotic bets, it's one of those things you just have to try to assess it and be nimble and make changes to your logic and to your models as you roll in through each game. So, it is an interesting one. It's always an exciting time of the year to be trying to assess that. It means footy's back, and it's good to see new, like the punters are the same. There's no difference in the punters trying to make their changes at their end as well. So it is what it is, and you just do your best.
On the in-game betting, we're obviously still operating in the dark ages and having to use the phone. I'm assuming you're a proponent for taking it all online.
Oh, 100%. It would significantly elevate turnover on that product. There are obviously reasons why they prefer it to be run through. I probably feel, the negatives significantly outweigh the positives there. So I just feel that it needs to come on online like the rest of the world. Whether there's some restrictions or those sort of things put in, but at the end of the day, if someone really wants to have a bet, they're going to ring up and do it. The reality is it just makes it so inconvenient for people that want to enjoy the game that a lot of people don't. So I'm not sure it's protecting the right group of people there.
I noticed same game multis, which we spoke about. You've got them up and running now?
Yeah, we launched our rugby league and AFL versions of same game multi. We did it on a slowly basis. We haven't released all of our markets yet, but we wanted to make sure that we had the logic right, and it seems to be working well. We're trying to be very competitive in our pricing in that regard. So we have got and we will have a number of markets up on that for all the AFL and NRL games throughout the rest of the season. And we're going to continue to grow our offering over the next month, I suppose, and then roll it into other sports as well. So we're very happy that we've got that on the site. I know it's a very popular product and something a lot of our customers have been asking for an extended period of time. So I'm glad it was received well, and we're very happy with the output.
Anyone got away with a good collect yet?
The first game we launched it on was the Melbourne Storm against the Rabbitohs game, and I think 5 of the 6 favourites all scored a try in that. So there were plenty of punters that gave us a touch-up first game where they threw a lot of the favoured runners in to score a try. So there hasn't been any wild dividends rolled through, but the punters did certainly start well in round 1, and I think we pegged a little bit back with the wet weather in round 2.
Just on the AFL and the NRL, we've spoken a lot in the past about racing and the cost of racing and the cost for you guys to operate on it, which is passed on to the punters because it's more expensive to bet on. How does AFL and NRL compare to that?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. The fee structure isn't as extreme as the racing, but that's obviously the reverse of that is you hold a lot more on rugby league and AFL in a comparative sense, where you're taking bets at a lot shorter price and the margin isn't anywhere near as big. So the AFL and they have 2 similar models but slightly different. The NRL model has been one that's been spoken about around the traps a lot recently, particularly I know Betfair's been quite strong on that front. We don't have a huge issue with either of the models. I think they're probably fair. The fact that they're still on the monthly calculation basis is something that we're quite happy with. There was a few prospective changes there last year, but luckily they were all quashed. So yeah, it's one of those things. It's just trying to balance it up. At least with the league and the AFL, you know where you stand with their fee structure, and it's something we're comfortable with. Although obviously any incentive to try to grow the product is obviously much appreciated, but at least it's a different thing. I think the league and the AFL fee structure to the racing, where racing's put on for most people to have a bet. Like that's a very real reality, where rugby league and AFL is there's a lot more to it than just the pure punting on it. So I don't think there's as much scope to be able to try to do things to encourage turnover. I think it's a different sort of argument you've got with that as opposed to the racing. So it's more of an integrity-based situation that we're sort of arguing down those lines when it comes to the 2 sporting codes.
Absolutely. The 2 major footy codes are dominant in Australia, obviously, in terms of the focus of the sporting world. Once they start, do you find other stuff, I don't know, the NBA, for example, do you find other stuff like that falls off? Or is it a separate bunch of punters that get on the footy?
Yes and no. Like on the NBA and your big US sports are on during the day, so you still get a lot of people that chime in and have their bets there, particularly on a day like today, on a Tuesday, when you haven't got any footy on at the moment. So, but yeah, you definitely, like, punters have only got a wallet that can be extended so far. So if they're footy punters and they might bet on the NBA in the off season, they'll direct their focus to the footy once it's back on. But we certainly still see a lot of activity on your US sports, just with the different time zones. But one key example of it is when the rugby union's playing and there's no NRL and AFL, the turnover drops off significantly once the NRL comes back into play, because they're sort of competing in similar sort of time zones. So yes, so definitely that is the case on those sort of sports and those sort of comparisons.
Just on the NBA, one thing we saw during the week and quite recently was some injuries to some big players and MVP candidates, LeBron, Joel Embiid as well. Has that had an impact on? Do you do much futures action on the NBA, and has that had an impact on them?
Yeah, we do bits and pieces on it. So the MVP now is we've got Nikola Jokic into $2.14. So that's been a big move, because LeBron, he was in quite short not long ago, and obviously he's got that injury. He's sort of still in the market. Like, obviously we're waiting to see how long. I'm not sure if that's all been officially decided just yet, but yeah, Jokic's in pretty short. LaMelo Ball was probably the key one. He was in very short to win Rookie of the Year. That sort of flipped on its head now with Anthony Edwards into $1.45 to win that award, after LaMelo was in as short as $1.22. So that's probably the biggest move. But yeah, it's unfortunate to see some of these star players go down at the wrong time of the season in those key markets, because it's obviously you want to see them play.
And just finally, when we last spoke, it was just before you guys got involved in the world's greatest shave and all lost your hair to raise a bit of money. How did that end up going?
Yeah, it was great. We received 13,500 in donations, and Top Sport doubled that to get it to 27,000 to the Leukemia Foundation, which is a really good achievement. We had about 10 of the guys and girls getting involved in that process. So it was something, it was a really proud day for Top Sport to be able to, contribute to that. And my hair is very, very, very slowly growing back. So my daughter's happy enough with the progress, but she wasn't happy the first night she saw me, but we were very, very proud to be involved. And I think she understands now that, to be able to raise that amount of funds, to have so many people support the cause, made it very much worthwhile.
Good stuff. Just keep that hat on and avoid the frozen or the sunburned head.
Exactly.
Good stuff. All right. Well, another big week coming up with the footy continuing and the golden slipper with everything else pushed back. So all the best for this week, and we'll chat again soon.
Thanks for that, Mark. Speak to you soon.
Cheers.
Bet with topsport.com.au, Australia's fairest bookmaker. Fully Australian owned and operated. Bet with topsport.com.au, Australia's fairest bookmaker.